Hello guys, I'm Ellie and here to tell you how I got away from an abusive situation. You see, my husband Luke has always been a mama's boy. I never had a problem with that until I met my mother-in-law Nora. She was an absolute nightmare of a woman who did a lot more than just hate and insult me. In fact, she was downright abusive to me. When Luke and I were in a relationship, she tried her best to get me out of the picture. She tried everything and failed. Luke and I got married, much to her horror, and started to live a happy life. But that didn't make her stop. The level of Nora's craziness came out when she and my father-in-law, Jay, were temporarily living with us. Nora repeatedly tried to poison me by mixing allergens into my food. One day she successfully fed me a good amount of soybean oil, which sent me straight to the ICU. I almost died. And that was what it took for Luke to finally go no contact. Luke used to excuse his mother's behavior a lot and tell me to adjust. When I almost died, it seemed like he finally understood the severity of the situation. Things became clear to him when Jay ended up divorcing Nora for being cruel enough to try and poison me. Nora, of course, said that she thought I was faking my allergies for attending and she didn't do anything on purpose. Thankfully, no one believed her. We even got a restraining order against her. All well and good? Well, not exactly. Luke and I had a happy life away from Nora for 2 years. By then, Jay had also moved out and we had the house to ourselves. At the end of 2 years, I found out that I was pregnant with a daughter. We were all overjoyed. However, I was always paranoid that Nora would find out and come to mess with me. The protection order had expired and I didn't know how to keep her away now. Luke was my rock and helped me calm down when these fears ate me away. That was until he started to hint that maybe we should forgive Nora and start to have her back in our lives. One day he even sat me down and said, "Did you think about what I said, Ellie? Maybe we should try and have a relationship with Mom. It's been years already now." Are you even hearing yourself, Luke? Why would I ever want that? Our daughter needs to have her grandmother in her life, Ellie. Think about her, Ellie. I am thinking about her, Luke. Your mother is a horrible woman with no sense of boundaries. She almost killed me. So she can easily do that to our child. How can you even think that our daughter would be safe with her? It's my mom, Ellie. I'm sure she has learned from her mistake. Let's give her a chance. We can always go no contact again in case she tries anything. Absolutely not, Luke. I am not going to allow Nora to hurt me or my child again. I've done with her since the first incident. I will never allow her back in my life, let alone my daughter's. You knew about this already, Luke. I am not changing my mind. I was pretty angry at Luke for even suggesting that I invite his mom to my baby shower. I also didn't know why he was suddenly talking about her. I was already paranoid about his mom trying to hurt me or my baby, and Luke thought it was a good idea to talk about Nora. I was appalled by Luke's behavior. Thankfully, Luke seemed to drop the issue and agreed to respect my decision. Oh boy. I was wrong about that, guys. Luke didn't drop the issue in real life and absolutely didn't respect my decision at all. In fact, he was making worse plans behind my back. How did I know? Well, his father ended up calling me to talk about it. A few days after my discussion with Luke, Jay called me and said, "Hey, Ellie, sorry this is out of the blue, but do you know your mother-in-law is coming to your baby shower?" What? No, Jay, she's not invited to my baby shower at all. She's never getting back into my life again. Listen to me, Ellie. I'm going to tell you something very important. I thought you should know that Luke has invited Nora to your baby shower. I was floored by what Jay just told me. I had no idea that my husband had actually done what I specifically told him not to do. I was so confused and angry that I started to hyperventilate. I told Jay, "What are you talking about, Jay? Luke invited his mom. I specifically told him not to do that. He promised he wouldn't." I know that, Ellie. Luke is actually in contact with his mom. He has been ever since the last restraining order was lifted. I didn't know about it until yesterday. I tried to make Luke change his mind, but he is adamant about bringing Nora back into your lives. Luke is back in contact with Nora? Oh my God, how could he do this to me? Is he insane? I will never forgive him for this. I'll try my best to make him change his mind, Ellie. Please don't panic over this. Nora won't hurt you or your child again. Luke is being stupid. I will do my best to make him understand. I won't tell him that I know, Jay. There is no use doing that anymore. I want to see if he really ends up bringing Nora to the baby shower. If he does, I will divorce him. I was not joking, guys. The thought that my own husband went behind my back made my skin crawl. I also couldn't get over the fact that my husband was willingly bringing an abuser back into our lives. I knew then and there I wouldn't be with Luke if he did this. I jeopardized my life once, but now I have my daughter to worry about as well. There was no way I was putting myself back in an abusive situation. Luke had already proven to be untrustworthy, so there was no use talking to him anymore. I didn't tell Luke that I knew what he did. Jay and I talked regularly to get updates on the situation. I was already seeing a divorce lawyer and was in the process of drafting papers. I wanted to be ready if Luke actually ended up bringing Nora to my baby shower. The days leading up to the shower were a mess. I was mentally in a bad state since Jay told me that Luke wasn't changing his mind. Luke was worried about me, but I just told him that I wasn't feeling well. I also had trouble being around Luke and felt betrayed by what he did. Still, I never confronted him. I gave him numerous chances to do the right thing, but he didn't. So when the divorce papers were ready and delivered to me a day before the baby shower, I was prepared to leave Luke for good. I was going to show him how badly he had messed up. To no one's surprise, Nora arrived at my baby shower, while Luke happily escorted her to me. The moment I saw her, my blood ran cold. I was expecting her, but seeing her there made me super protective again. I immediately stepped away and said, "What is she doing here, Luke? You promised that she wouldn't be here." "Oh, come on, Ellie, don't be like that. This is a happy occasion. Let's not let the past spoil the day." "The day was already spoiled when you walked in with your mother. How dare you bring her here despite me saying no? You went behind my back and did this. You betrayed me, Luke. Why did you do this?" "Well, what did you expect me to do? I asked you nicely, but you related horribly to it." "You left me no choice but to invite my mother secretly." "So, even after I said no, you went out of your way to invite her behind my back? My abuse means nothing to you? Does it? What kind of a husband are you, Luke?" "Stop being so difficult, Ellie. You're being extremely unreasonable. My mother will be a great-grandma. I'm sure of it." "You think that your abusive mother will be a great-grandma? Do you even hear yourself, Luke? Why do you keep judging my mom like that, Ellie? It's been a long time already. You need to just move on and accept her back into our lives. I'm getting sick and tired of your behavior." "Your wife really does need to learn to move on, Luke. Listen to me, Ellie. My son is right. It's been a while already, and you need to get over your little temper tantrum. It's a shame that you haven't grown up even a little, even after getting pregnant. My poor granddaughter is going to need a mature parent like me. Luke, you were right in inviting me. It looks like you guys really need my help." My mouth was hanging open after hearing what my mother-in-law was saying. She was literally talking about being involved in my daughter's life and wanted to parent her. Nora must be super delusional because no parent in their right mind would allow that to happen. In fact, parents would try to keep their kids away from abusive people like Nora. So I was appalled by Nora's audacity to think that we would allow her to have an active role in our daughter's life. But to my horror, my husband didn't even look concerned. In fact, he acted like he agreed with Nora. I was so much in disbelief that I said, "What is your mother saying, Luke? Nora, you seriously can't expect us to allow you to have an active role in our daughter's life? That is simply not happening." Why not? Your daughter is also my granddaughter, so I will always have a say in how you parent her. Besides, you will need someone to babysit. Absolutely not, Nora. You will never babysit my daughter. Luke and I will never let someone as abusive as you be her caregiver, even for a little while. You need to drop that dream of yours because it won't be happening. Oh, please. Luke agrees that I will be the best choice for a babysitter. Knowing your incompetence, I think it would be better if I moved in right after the baby was born. Right, Luke? You need to see something now, Luke. Do you really agree with what your mother is saying? Are you really going to allow your mother to parent or babysit our child? I was still looking at Luke in disbelief because I was hoping that my husband wasn't dumb enough to actually say those things. I had a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that Luke was having these conversations with his mom behind my back. Yes, Jay had warned me about them being in contact, but he only knew that Luke had invited Nora to the baby shower. Even Jay had no idea that they reconnected and were actually planning to have Nora parent my kid. My guests at the baby shower were also looking rather uncomfortable and shocked at what was going on. I was desperately hoping for this to be a bad dream, but no, I had no such luck. In fact, my husband nonchalantly just said, I think you're going too far in bashing my mom, Ellie. She's a good mother and raised me very well. I'm sure she can be a good babysitter too. Did you forget the fact that she almost killed me while trying to prove that my allergies were fake? That I was trying to get attention by saying I'm allergic to things? You think that makes people a good babysitter? Oh, come on, Ellie. You're being so dramatic. It was a long time ago. Get over it already. Honestly, it's so annoying how you're holding on to a small thing. You need to be better than my mom. She's my family, so you should forgive her. I won't allow you to push her aside. She's staying for the baby shower and she will be actively in our lives from now on. I was dumbstruck by my husband's words. He was adamant about having his abusive mother in our lives. He has no problem bringing around some stupid woman who almost killed me. And he was being stubborn in his insistence that his mother would have an active part in our daughter's life. That was something happening over my dead body. I wasn't going to allow this lunatic woman Nora to be in my life, let alone my child's. It was time to make a hard decision after all. My preparations weren't going to waste and I didn't know how to feel about it. It was sad that my marriage came to this, but there is no backing out now. I need to get out of this marriage right now. So I casually walked back into the study without engaging with Luke anymore. I went to the study to grab hold of the divorce papers that I had already prepared. My hands were shaking and I almost started to cry. But I calmed myself down, thinking that I shouldn't waste tears on a man who cared nothing about my feelings. So I reined in my tears and went back to the room where everyone was having food and beverages awkwardly. Only Nora and Luke looked like they were having a good time. They were laughing, and Luke was excitedly telling her all our plans about our daughter. When I retreated to the study instead of following me, my husband stayed behind with his mother. He probably thought that I was again having a temper tantrum and would eventually have to accept Nora. But he was in for a big surprise. I returned downstairs with papers in my hand and was noticed by Jay, who sat quietly at a side. He immediately knew what I was doing and seemed sad about it. I went to my husband, who also looked confused to see me with papers in hand. I looked at him and a smirking Nora and said, "You have made it clear that Nora is your family. You have shown me that I and my child would have to compromise our safety and accept Nora back in our lives. Today, you made it clear that you chose Nora above us, Luke." "No, that's not what I meant, Ellie. Don't twist my words. I'm trying my best to make you all get along. Mom is also my family, Ellie. You have to understand why I need her." "You seem hell-bent on making this abusive woman a part of your family again. Well then, guess what? You won't be my family anymore." "What? What do you mean, Ellie?" "Here are your divorce papers, Luke. Sign them and return them to me. If you have questions about the divorce, contact my lawyer. We are done." Luke and Nora both looked super shocked when I told them what those papers meant. I handed Luke the divorce papers and stood there with my arms crossed. He quickly scanned through the papers to see for himself if I was telling the truth. Well, I was telling the truth, as you all know by now. I really did see a lawyer and drew up the papers. I wanted to be ready to leave if Luke thought he could just slap his mother on me and relax. He was wrong. Luke's hands were now shaking since he had verified the fact that the papers were indeed divorce papers. He looked shell-shocked and said, "You can't be serious, Ellie. You drew up divorce papers?" "But why?" "I drew up divorce papers because I knew what you were up to. I knew you invited Nora to the baby shower. Your father told me everything." "Dad, you told Ellie that I called Mom to the baby shower?" "Yes, I told her, Luke. Your mom boasted about how she would soon be back in your life and that the divorce was my loss since she hadn't lost her son after all. I had to tell Ellie because you went behind her back and didn't even listen to me. I warned you, Luke. I can't believe you still went through with your ridiculous plan. You should be ashamed of yourself." Luke was now starting to have the idea that what he did was messed up. The thought hadn't fully set in, but I could see the wheels turning in his head. He kept looking at me and the papers in his hand. He appeared nervous, and I wasn't the only one who noticed. Before Luke could form a reply, his mom clutched his arm and said, "No, Luke, you did the right thing by having me back in your life. Don't listen to your father. Jay and Ellie want to keep us apart because they are jealous of our relationship." "Oh, there is nothing to be jealous of anymore, Nora. Jay is no longer your husband, and I will no longer be your son's wife. Congratulations, Nora. You got what you wanted. Your son is all yours now." No, don't say that, Ellie. Let's talk about this. You can't leave me. You can't just blindside me with the divorce papers." "Oh, really, Luke? I can't blindside you with divorce papers, but you can blindside me with your mother? You went to my back and got in touch with her as soon as the protective order was lifted. You comforted me while I stressed over your mom, but all this time you were on her side." Now, Luke was getting panicked. He quickly removed himself from his mother and came to my side. He was trying to hold my hand, but I kept dodging him. That was something I never did. I never took away physical touch or refused any kind of affection he gave me. But this time I didn't even want to look at him, let alone allow him to touch me. I maintained a safe distance from him, which scared him even more. He said in a panicked voice, "You're misunderstanding everything, Ellie. I just wanted us all to be a family again. I really didn't want to go behind your back." "Yet you did that, Luke. You still had a chance today when I asked you to make Nora leave. But no, you called me stubborn and immature and then put down your foot, saying that I have to forgive her because she's family. You don't have that problem anymore, Luke. Since I'm leaving you, Nora will be your only family besides Jay." "I don't think so, Ellie. After what my son did today, I'm deeply ashamed of him. This is not how I raised my son. His love for his mother has blinded him. I don't want a son who doesn't even know right from wrong." "No, Dad, please don't say that. I need you and Ellie in my life, too. Oh, God, this can't be happening. This is not what I wanted." "You wanted your mom, and you got that, Luke. You should be happy now. Don't worry, I won't take your daughter away from you. You will be able to see her as many times as the court sees fit, but I will no longer be your problem. You can have a nice life with your mom while I raise my daughter in a safe environment." Luke was now in tears, seeing that I was dealing with him very coldly. Nora now looked extremely nervous and was quietly standing in a corner. She hadn't expected the day to turn out like this. She had probably expected Luke to force me to have her back in her life. I bet Nora had made some grand schemes about how she could get back at me and parent my child her way. But now it became apparent to her that her son was more interested in keeping me in his life than her. That was something that bothered Nora a lot. Meanwhile, Luke was slowly starting to turn desperate and said, "Please listen to me, Ellie. Let's calm down and talk about this. I know I messed up, but you have to see why I did it. Please just hear me out." "I have nothing to hear anymore, Luke. You already told me what you think about my feelings and opinions. You also showed me how little you care about me and our daughter, Luke. You should be happy that I'm letting you go back to your precious mother. No, Ellie, you are not more important than my mom. Please don't leave me. Oh, that's funny, Luke. If I was more important than your mother, you should have listened to me. There is no use trying to change my mind now. We are done. You and your mother can leave, since this party was organized by my family who definitely didn't invite Nora. Take your mom and leave, Luke. Luke had a breakdown. When I told him to leave, he started to cry and begged me to hear him out. When I told him that my decision was made and there was no changing it, he burst into tears. He even begged Jay to make me understand that this was a small mistake on his part. Meanwhile, his mother just stood there trying to tell him that we were being unfair. She said, "Oh, come on, Luke, don't act so desperate. You don't need an immature wife like Ellie anyway." "Shut up, Mom. Just stop talking already. This is all your fault. I never should have listened to you. I let you fill my head with nonsense, and now I'm about to lose my wife." Now, Luke, don't go around blaming your mom for everything. After all, it was you who made the decision to invite her and defend her. There is no use backtracking now. As I said, my decision is final. No, Ellie, don't do this to us, please. Dad, please tell her to give me a chance. You're on your own, son. You messed up big time and have no face to even ask for forgiveness. Luke finally understood that he had messed up big time. He hadn't expected me to up and leave once he brought his mom to the house. It was probably Nora who had convinced him that everything would be okay. But at the end of the day, it was my stupid husband who thought it would be a good idea to jeopardize his marriage for his mother. Too bad things didn't work out for either of them. I was already prepared for the worst, so I was able to keep my emotions in check. Honestly, even though I was sad and disappointed, I stayed strong for my child. Luke and Nora eventually left after I repeatedly told them to leave. Once they were gone, I had a mini breakdown. Thankfully, I was surrounded by friends and family who actually cared about me, so I was able to get support and eventually come to peace with the fact that my marriage was ending for real. My baby shower was still a success, even though I was a bit sad. We had some fun and people came forward to offer help in all ways possible. At night, Luke came back and tried to reason with me. However, I made it clear that there would be no coming back from them. Yes, I did end up divorcing Luke. I simply couldn't stay with him after knowing that he was willing to risk mine and my daughter's safety for his abusive mom. The divorce happened way after our child was born, but everything went well. My daughter is now 9 months old and my divorce has been finalized. It took some time, but now I am a free woman. Luke fought me a lot, but eventually gave in when he saw that I had stopped loving him. However, he still tries to woo me back and has been miserable since the day I declared the divorce. He has also made no contact with his mom and screamed at her face when she showed up at his work to talk to him. Apparently, Luke blamed his mom for his divorce and told her that he wanted nothing to do with her. From what I hear, Nora is heartbroken and never expected this to happen. I'm also happy to tell you that she hasn't and never will meet my daughter. Luke is probably keeping his mom away because he thinks he can win me back. Sometimes I feel sad hearing about his sorry state from Jay, but I'm glad that I got out of that marriage where I was disrespected. Luke tried to test my boundaries and go behind my back. In the end, his plans blew up in his face and destroyed his life.